Or you think, yeah, this is sort of a normal-looking Terran base, but interestingly, the factory had to stay at home building Hellions, building add-ons, and all that sort of stuff. Ordinarily, this factory is already cross-mapped, spotting at that third, was not able to do that this early this game, and now we see DDE getting ready to push forward with a small amount of Marine Marauder medevac while taking his own third base, and again, I'm so interested to see how DDE wants to play off the mid and late game. DdoRo in absolute control, lockdown mode, just ramped up to 7 gateways. Yep. I mean, how do you think DDE should seize control at this point?
Just try to take the simulator. That's your best bet. You have, I mean, you know you've been so, crushed in this early game stage. You lost that big fight in the beginning. Just go ahead and try to take the smallest advantage possible and just work and whittle your way up. This is pretty correct. It's actually giving a lot of tells to DDE, like, where are all of your units? This is really weird. This should actually never happen. And he does see the third base coming up as well. Again, sniping the fourth assimilator, bring him down to 3. That's so important to do. I can't stress that enough. If you can do that, it really whittles down your opponent's capabilities. Just think if they're just making Colossus, that reduces the Colossus amount.
Yeah, they can either go Colossus or no Stalker. They can either go a lot of Blink Stalkers and no Templar. I mean, it just really helps you get a clear picture of what's going on. And DDE, I think, had a couple of possible scans that would pick off those observers, but instead just sort of containing the front. I almost like that he's not even committing that many medevacs at this point, just trying to build up a lot of infrastructure. I mean, medevacs, for as good as they are very expensive. You can burn a ton of cash getting those early, and boom, there goes down the observer. It looks like DDE might be able to take out this assimilator for a third time.
Yeah, I would say medevacs are the biggest luxury items for Terran, if we want to call it that. They're really, really good. Don't get me wrong, they're great for positioning, great for just moving around the map and spreading your opponent thin, but when it comes down to it, they don't actually add any DPS to your armies, and you need that going into this tech change, metagame heavy era where people are, switching very, very dynamically to High Templars. You need that gas to go to Ghost very, very quickly, else you will be in a ton of trouble if you're just Marine Marauder medevac against Colossus High Templars.
So now we examine the base of DdoRo. We see that he does have the double forges up. +2 armor and +1 attack is coming. DDE's upgrades are 1-0 per usual. Not getting this second engineering bay, just sticking with 1. We see 8 barracks in the main. I think generally the sort of composition you want is around 8 to 9 barracks with full add-ons and 2 starports with those reactors. I mean, what sort of adjustments would you make beyond that?
Right now,
never mind, Andre. There's a huge battle about to happen up at this top side as it looks like DDE is trying to step in, trying to do a lot of damage. Some excellent force fields, and this is why Blink is becoming the popular norm in this matchup. First, able to take down so many medevacs, only 2 remain. And DdoRo, though, looking a little bit dry on all the unit counts. And no, DDE manages to break through. Again, these unusual timings are what make DDE so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, it's so surprising that he's able to out-macro his opponent. You can see he is continuously sniping down those medevacs. They're so expensive, as we were talking about, and now finally being able to clean everything up. But a little strike force in the natural is going to do a little bit of damage here. Clear out the probes. But in the meantime, are you kidding me? Is he really alive? He's still alive.
He's still trying to hammer down this top expansion. The longer he can keep that top expansion down, the more damage he can do. In classic DDE style, exactly 3 Marines are now walking up into the main base, and this is going to cause havoc for DdoRo because he needs to pull some units back. Probes can't just take these out. Even though they have 15 hit points, their DPS is so high, and now DDE re-rallying to the center. This is what I love about DDE's style, favoring barracks over tech. You see players like Thorzane get the extra engineering bay, then get Ghost, don't have as many Marine Marauder. DDE, sure, he doesn't have that ability to deal with Colossi and Templar, but if he sees you not going for Colossi and Templar, he knows exactly how to seize the moment.
Definitely, and he's doing that right here. I mean, the way he split everything apart, and it's so surprising that he macroed over his opponent. I think DdoRo is not used to that style. He's used to cutting it really close, expecting you to get double upgrades, expecting you to get Ghosts, Vikings, and medevacs. All of a sudden, it's like DDE has this force that he's not expecting because of that. And he just put too many assumptions in there, and he's obviously paying the price as he's still on gateway units. Just now the first Colossus coming out, that will give him a lot of stabilization here.
So there, yes, 1 Colossus. Does it even have range? It does not. Range hasn't even been started for DdoRo. That's the amount of pressure that DDE has been putting him under. And I mean, of all foreign Terran players, or actually I suppose I should say American Terran players, DDE I think is far and away the most attack-favoring player. He loves these little miniature troops of units just going everywhere like he's playing Supreme Commander or Rise of Nations, just little tiny units darting everywhere.
It's like Select, man.
Yeah, Select is definitely up there as well, but DDE combines it with this ridiculous unorthodoxy that it makes it so hard to predict. And with that second starport now done, I think it's looking somewhat grim for DdoRo unless he can get maxed with 3-3.
Well, he is incorporating High Templars now into the composition. He does have a High Templar actually started on the bottom middle side, but it's important to note that you can have a composition counter like this, and because Ghost Academy is so late, because Vikings haven't been made this whole time, and because he actually lost a lot of medevacs, there's going to be a severe weakness for quite a long time, whereas gas is just spread out all over the place. And as I was saying, I mean, we're already 20 minutes in. Actually, the main is still live for quite a long time. So actually, DDE will be able to produce all those at the same time, but probably not medevacs. That's the only thing. He'll be able to get the bare minimum of 6 gas.
But I think it's sort of interesting, as we're seeing DDE shut down this expansion and the increasingly intimidating force from DdoRo gather together, it makes it clear one of the reasons why perhaps DDE chose this map. After these aggressive follow-ups, he needs a lot of time to get up tons of Vikings and Ghosts and medevacs and upgrades and all the rest of the gas tech. Only on this map do you really have that much time as Terran. Yeah. DDE, of course, doing what's generally not considered a stable play, but is great in tournaments, taking the command center at the bottom right, but he's got to avoid this Templar sneaking into his third.
And the Zealots are starting up as well. Now, it is only one Storm. With the correct move, he can just not suffer any losses. Just 2 SCVs go down to that Storm for the price of a full High Templar. I don't know if that was... Well, actually, I know it's not completely worth it. DdoRo, so here's the problem with DdoRo, if we can go into... Yes, he has a composition counter to his opponent, but, you know, as we were talking about, he just has a development problem. He doesn't have the mass amount of units that he needs to. You can see the supplies are 163, 200, 200. On top of that, he lacks scouting, which is so weird. He had observers all around the map, but now he just doesn't have the ability to make those calls so that he has an easy decision later on. And inevitably, he's given DDE the chance to just come back into this.
Oh, Warp Prism from DdoRo runs right into a pack of Vikings. That is going to sting, and it looks like DDE is getting ready to mount a big offensive. The only really counterattack tool DdoRo has is this one southern pylon. Sure, he has pylons planted around the map, but only one angle is uncovered for DDE. He is building, it looks like, a planetary fortress off in bottom right. There's Zealots starting to morph in there as well, and DDE has to have an answer. He would love that 4th base up for gases 7 and 8, but DDE needs to drop some sort of mules to be able to repair it. We see the Viking medevac composition in mid-map.
Wow.
Oh my God, more SCVs? This is so crazy, but I actually think it might work. There's only 2 Colossi.
You know, normally you do this attack when you have a huge amount of command centers banked up. But DDE's just going at this without that. It's so unorthodox.
Oh, and there's the Cloak and the Templar. Do Storm, but no, DDE easily EMPs that and now starting to step right into the front. Where is the army of DdoRo? He has a lot of Templar, but not with enough energy. He rapidly morphs all of them into Archons. One single EMP hits almost the entire army, and there's DDE beginning to kite as quickly as he can. Starting to stand still. 4 Colossi come out of nowhere. Those Vikings are beginning to do massive damage, but DDE is starting to suffer from the same problem he did last game, Andre. He's getting stuck behind force fields and not pulling back.
Yeah, and DDE is taking so much losses from this. 2 Colossus still remain, but is there enough gateway units to actually protect the Colossus at this point? Now you can see the medevac count is still at 2. That's a problem. It's a sustainability problem because 1 stim actually does a lot more damage now because the burst heal isn't there, but it just might be enough. Again, another
Colossi
stim
gets taken down. Yet another stim. DDE has brought his units down to autumn colors of red, orange, and yellow. He is trying to kite as best he can. He is trying to macro throughout all of this, and with this warp in round from DdoRo, he does manage to successfully defray the attack. But in the meantime, this small counterattack of Zealot Templar might be exactly what DdoRo needs to begin putting the pressure back on Terran.
Oh, the mules go down immediately if he storms that. Beautiful.
Oh, that's 500 plus resources immediately down the gutter. DDE does also manage to take down a couple of the Zealots, but not before losing that bunker. The 4th base of DdoRo is up and operational. DDE is running very low on options.
And remember, that constitutes a lot more than normal because all those SCVs were pulled in the last fight.
Right, he has 13 SCVs.
Sweet, merciful mother of God. So those 2 mules alone were almost half of the economy, since a lot of those SCVs are actually on gas. It was probably more than the economy, so DDE is in such a rough position. He's going to try to do some of this guerrilla warfare over here, but it's ill-fated. DDE, I feel like, has It's such a tough situation for him to be in.
DDE was at the advantage, put on as much pressure as he could, and in one fell swoop managed to sabotage his own position. He's trying to drop up at this top side, doing some nice little micro-control tactics, but DdoRo now does have control of this game, has 7 geysers running, blink stalkers, all the upgrades, 3-3-2 upgrades. DdoRo is in fantastic position. DDE will lose almost all of his army with this attack. No, 100% of it should go down. With that small troop, DDE has only bought himself a little bit more time, but he is now at 53 through to 123. Andre, yuck.
My God. And you know what? I asked DdoRo, how are you feeling before the WCS actually started? He said, I'm going to lose. I haven't been practicing. And it doesn't look that way. DdoRo actually on top of his game, playing out DDE like.
Listen, I'm gonna be real for a second here, Gretorp.
Go.
Because I've been being fake. I haven't even looked at the monitor once this time. No, but let me just be straight with you, Andre. There are way too many players who play way too much and say that they don't practice. It's this common like player insecurity where you're training really hard, but you didn't get to train enough, and you go to the tournament and you're like, no, I didn't really get to practice that much. I mean, this is one of the most common fallacies that you hear out of these players. It can easily be disproved just by checking their ladder record.
Oh, Koss, you haven't played that much. Gotcha, man.
Yeah, Koss, you really got to train more. I think he's the first player to hit 10,000 wins on the ladder.
I wish I could. Zealot Strike Force, actually one Zealot in the bottom left-hand corner, taking out 25% of DDE's
And there's the good game. He did not go out with a bang. He went out with kind of a dithering.
Yeah. It was like a Magikarp splash, man. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing. I mean,
it did nothing.
It was ineffective. And I mean, this goes to show I really think that game might be the greatest example of DDE's personality encapsulated in a match. I mean, opening up weirdly, with weird unit compositions, doing incredible aggression in the mid-game, and then kind of just botching it on all by himself.
Yeah. I mean, the SEV pull just does not make sense, especially how he's trying to fit it in. Now, SEVs are really good, actually. You need a couple in front and then a couple in back. And what it does, they filter in, so the Colossus take maybe 2-3 swipes on them.
Yeah.
But what happened was all of his SEVs were behind, and he actually didn't get the right position. Obviously, just going up into a ramp, it's not going to work.
Oh, I mean, yeah. With all the force fields there, I mean, the SCVs were just going back and forth, taking just as much damage as the Marine Marauder, and he essentially handed the game to DdoRo with that one big attack. But
and I've seen the SCV pull work. I mean, the Muslim does a build off of 2 base where he goes 7 racks, and he brings out maybe 18 SCVs and does the same push over and over and over again. He has like 2 or 3 rounds that he can do that. But you need them. It's weird. You need the SCVs to be positioned right so they automatically micro-correct.
Yes, and I just think that goes to show how important it is to just have that steady refinement of the build. Winging things can get you pretty far. I mean, it's even with a brilliant player like DDE, but that does mean that DdoRo, stable, solid play in both game 1 and 2, is going to allow him to get to the winner's bracket final. Wow. Which is a real big surprise to see DDE in the top 10 already, with DdoRo in the top 3 now of that winner's bracket. And down in the lowers, there's 2 big matches. The only 2 places remaining will be battled out by Ostoji versus Tubby the Fat, who is actually taking out a surprising amount of good players.
Yeah, he's doing really well, actually.
And TT1 versus Huck.
That's going to be very interesting. I know TT1 and Huck have a lot of history in terms of playing, but also, just in terms of playing. We'll just leave it at that. But, don't forget, there's a lot of money on the line. $6,000 for first place, $2,250 for second. And it is in USD, which is actually equivalent to Canadian money. Every single joke in my life has been a lie.
Oh, my God. Well, no, they were just funny temporarily. Once the dollar regains its value, come on, one time, come on.
One time, baby.
One time. Then I can start paying off those student loans a little bit more easily.
Yeah,
that actually is. There's financial analysts watching me like, well, that's not actually true. Both would correspond to the value of the dollar. You still will owe all that money. And I'm like, damn it.
Did you know it's like the biggest do I want to go into this? Yeah. Financial aid is like the biggest scheme ever. Like, there's a huge thing politically in the U.S. They're like trying to reform it completely because it's just a huge scam. apparently.
Well,
just how it's set up.
I hope they absolve me of all my responsibilities.
I think there's actually they're coming up with programs. It's like you only have to give a certain percentage for 10 years or something like that if you hold a steady job. But it's in the woodworks right now. It's not for sure.
Wow.
But they're still formulating a plan for it.
Every month when I pay that check, I just envision the billions of comic books that could be purchased with that money, and I see it all go away. But that's okay.
I know. I'm sorry, dude.
That's okay. I get to be like, I have a math degree.
Instead, you just have to watch Spider-Man and The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
Can I actually just say that math is like the one thing that it's okay to just poop on, no matter what?
To what on?
Poop on?
Poop on.
Yeah.
Why?
See, I'm withholding my language. You know, because you go up to someone, you're like, I majored in math. And they're like, really? I hate math.
Dude,
you know?
Everybody does that.
No, and it's not like, well, what do you like? Well, I hate that.
Well, English is stupid.
Well, English is stupid.
They're like, really? You uncultured swine? No problem.
Oh, and speaking of swine, it looks like we should start paying attention. We have now got the next semifinal match started.
My goodness.
This is the other winner's bracket semifinal. It's going to be Scarlet going up against Drewby.
And let's talk a little bit about these players. Scarlet has one of the most amazing stories, in my opinion. She is the best girl in the world. I'm pretty sure I can say that. She's 2-0'd Huck, 2-1'd Ostoji, now over here in the semifinals for the winner's bracket, and looking to take out Drewby. She is impeccable. Actually, I talked to TT1. He said that she may well take all of WCS Canada. On top of that, I just love her style. It's just all around really, really solid. She plays a pretty passive style, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, she's really good at being flexible and thinking on her feet. I mean, she's the sort of person who I honestly think is one of the most terrifying people to play against on the ladder.